Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel on languages and history. If you're listening to me for the first time, this is Irina, and on this channel you will find a lot of material about Old Norse culture, for example, as well as Scandinavian and German society, as well as Germanic languages. And today I'm going to continue this mini series on Germanic languages compared, and I'm going to tackle a couple of terms referring to beverages and drinking. So I hope you enjoy, and if you do, please leave me a comment and maybe hit the subscribe button. All right, so let's start by discussing a little bit the verb to drink. This is very interesting because it is an essential verb. It describes an essential activity, obviously. However, we don't really know a lot about where this word came from. The root is quite uncertain. We can trace it back to the Old English drinkan and again to the Proto-Germanic drinkanan. The some of the related terms include Old Frisian trinka, Old High German trinkan, Dutch trinken, Old Norse drechka, Gothic drinkan, and so on and so forth. However, the Proto-Indo-European root is uncertain for this one. We do have a Proto-Indo-European root designating the verb to drink, but this root is made up of the sounds P and O, from which we have, for example, in Latin potarem, to drink, and potus, a drink, and this is also related to the word potion as well as poison, which didn't always have a negative sense. Through some linguistic changes, the verb in Latin pibere, which is another form, another derived form from the Proto-Indo-European verb, evolved into bibere and into many other words you can find predominantly in Romance languages, but not only. So, if you want to discover the root of drink, we should look at the three consonants, this cluster here, DRG and DRK, because this N that we have in drink is an infix, so it comes up a lot when making up words. So that's why we should focus on this cluster of consonants. However, it is still very hard to tell what it referred to. We know nothing about extinct languages, and maybe there is some kind of substrate, some kind of Mediterranean, I don't know, word or synonym completely extinct, and it's very hard to discover anything in that matter. We can ask ourselves the question whether it has anything to do with wetness, because we have, for example, a Proto-Germanic word which is trukis, meaning dry. So that would be a root for solid and durable things. This is also related to the word dränger, meaning pole in Old Norse. So maybe there is a link here from dryness to durability. So in the sense of quenching your thirst and then becoming dry. But then again, it's really unclear what meaning of the word came first, whether quenching your thirst and then consuming alcohol, or the other way around. So yeah, not much to say here. The root is still uncertain, and perhaps somebody will be able to reconstruct it someday if more evidence appears. Okay, so I'm going to present to you a couple of examples of words, very common words, about beverages, and let's try to see what they look like in several Germanic languages. Of course, I only have 9 examples here, but there are more than 9 Germanic languages, so keep that in mind. So the word water is perhaps the most important ones, and you can see here we have different forms for it. For example, in Swedish we have vatten, in Norwegian and Danish we have vatten, in German we have Wasser, water in Dutch, and then vatten in Icelandic, vetter in Frisian, and Wasser in Yiddish. The word water is also a pretty fascinating one. It can be traced back to the Proto-Germanic root first, water, and it is related to a couple of other terms from Proto-Indo-European. So, for example, in Proto-Slavic, you will find the word voda, and from this we have derivations in, I think, most or all Slavic contemporary Slavic languages, compare to Latvian udens, for example, and to ancient Greek udor, from which we have the prefix hydro, by the way. In Latin, the correspondent would be unda. In Irish, we would have a word such as uishke, I think. I probably mispronounced it. Sorry about that. Interestingly, the word was adopted again into English in the form of whiskey, as in the water of life. We can also find correspondences in languages such as Hittite, so Anatolian, as well as Tocharian. If you're thinking about perhaps the more common aqua in Latin, in Spanish would be agua, you can also find this word in the term for Scandinavia. So the last part of the word here, it actually means stream, and in Scandinavian you have the term or, which is in fact the word aqua, meaning a small river or a stream. Okay, so moving on, we have the word milk, and you can see here a couple of forms. You have Milch, for example, so German, Swiss German, Molke in Frisian, milk in Dutch, mjölk in Icelandic, milk in Danish, melk in Norwegian, and mjölk in Swedish. It is a Proto-Germanic form, meluk, from a Proto-Indo-European word meaning to milk or to stroke an animal in order to get milk from it. And you can also find it in older languages such as Old Norse, mjölk, melok in Old Frisian, or miluk in Old Saxon. And of course, being Proto-Indo-European, you will also find it in Latin, mulgeo, to milk, and in Old Irish, for example, nigit, melko in Proto-Slavic, and amelgo in Greek. So a lot of correspondences here. And the term in Yiddish as well is milech. Yeah, feel free to have a look at these forms and the differences between them. Now, the next thing I'm going to tackle is not that easy. I'm going to refer a little bit to juice. I'm saying it's not easy because some languages make a difference between natural unsugared juice and sugared juice. So that would be syrup, fruit syrup, or squash. So if you refer to natural juice, well, you have the Scandinavian languages using the same term. It's only pronounced use. This term is taken from Old French, and in its turn, it is taken from Latin. And in Latin, it used to mean a sauce or a broth. It probably refers to an old verb meaning to mix, and it displaced, in English at least, it displaced the old term show, which is actually a correspondent of the Dutch sap. This comes from a verb meaning to press out, and you can also find cognates in Old Norse, for example, soger, meaning moist, as well as in some Swedish dialects. Mind you, the word also exists in German, but use in German means meat juice specifically. And like I said before, you can notice that in Dutch and Frisian, you actually have the form corresponding to the Old English form, so sap or sop. Then again, in German, I don't think you really make a diff. Or as far as I know, I mean, I use the word Saft to designate both sugared and unsugared drinks. So Saft is like a more general term, and in Swiss German as well. Savi in Icelandic is also used for both of them, I suppose. And then you also have the Yiddish form of Saft. Okay, so let's discuss about the sugared one, or the fruit syrup to be more specific. So, okay, here you can see that if you refer to the sugared form, sugared fruit juice, you will have in Scandinavian this word as well, so saft. Yeah, if you want to refer to something very specific in German and Swiss German, you have the Schorle or the Most, which is a specific apple apple juice, and it is also a little fuzzy. So I'm guessing it's in this category as well of sugared juice, and not in the category of soda pop. I'm guessing. I'm not very sure, must confess. Um, but anyway, you use this word, generally speaking, to designate the fruit syrup. And speaking of soda pop, here you have a lot of differences in the ways languages approach it. So let's discuss a little bit a couple of them. You have in Swedish läsk, which comes from a Low German word löschen, and this is also related to the word löschen, meaning to extinguish and also to quench. So a drink made to quench your thirst, although that's far away from reality. Anyway, other languages such as Norwegian, where you have brus, use a verb meaning to emit bubbles in order to designate the soda pop. In Danish, it's pretty self-obvious, sodavin, so it's just the soda water, basically. In German, you can use the very general term Erfrischungsgetränk, which is a refreshment. But then again, you can also use the word Limo, which is short for Limonade, with the mention that it doesn't really refer to lemon juice. It refers to any kind of soda pop, so not only lemonade. And the same you can find in Dutch, in Pricklimonade, or in the more general term, Fris Drank, like a refreshment drink, generally speaking. So, moving on to Icelandic, here you just have the word for gas, so that's pretty self-explanatory why they chose this word, of course. And in Swiss German, there is a cute one, which is Süßi, so basically the sweet one, as a of Zeus meaning sweet. In Frisian, it's basically the same as in Dutch. You can just say prick. And in Yiddish, I think the word for Coke is used, cola, to designate all kinds of refreshments. Hope I'm not wrong about this one, the last one. And let's talk a little bit about two alcoholic drinks as well. So we have beer. Of course, we do. So, beer in Germanic languages usually falls into two categories. Either beer, as in German, as you have it in German, in Swiss German, in Dutch, Frisian, and also Icelandic, bjór. This is quite an uncertain word as well. Might have to do something with a Proto-Indo-European, Proto-Germanic, sorry, root beusa, meaning yeast, a root also related to barley, and possibly maybe also related to bibere from Latin. Like I said, there is a lot of speculation here. And the other term would be öl, used in the Scandinavian languages. This term is a cognate of ale in English, and it is related to the Latin alumen, meaning bitter. All right, and the other one would be wine. This is an easy one because, it was borrowed from Latin, vinum. And you can also find other words, related words, for example, again in ancient Greek, meaning grapevine. And interestingly, you can also find similar words in Semitic languages. So there might have been some kind of borrowing here, but we are not very sure. So if you look at these forms, yeah, they are really, really similar. I'm not going to go into terms such as cocoa, drink, or chocolate, because these are terms taken from Nahuatl, so from South America, and the tea and coffee are also, well, universal words, pretty much the same in all the languages, well, at least that I know of. I'm going to end this short presentation with a phrase, and this phrase would be, I would like a glass of water. So how do I say I would like a glass of water? Let's look at German first. That would be Ich hätte gerne ein Glas Wasser. In Dutch would be Ich zou graag een glas water, with willen at the end, if you want. In Frisian, something similar. Ik zou graag een glas water willen. In Swedish, it would be Jag skulle vilja ha ett glas vatten. In Norwegian, it would be Jeg vil gjerne ha et glas vann. And in Danish, it would be Jeg vil gerne ha et glas vin. With Icelandic, Mich langar att få mer vattensglas. Um, yeah, so there you go, a couple of words in Germanic languages related to drinks and beverages. Please feel free to comment on any of these words if you know something interesting from other languages, or if you want to maybe add a comment to that which I mentioned before. You are more than welcome to do so. And if you liked what I presented to you, please consider subscribing to my channel. It would really help me a lot. Well, until next time, take care and enjoy life.